AM 1450, FM 1033, KNSI's Ox in the afternoon. Well, our guest of honor tonight at Town Hall Tuesday is with us right now. Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth, Minnesota's favorite veteran, one of our favorite veterans anyway, and now a huge multinational, international television celebrity extraordinaire and a good friend of ours here on KNSI's Ox in the afternoon. Pete Hegseth, welcome to town, sir.
A very overgenerous introduction, but I appreciate it.
Well, hey, before we get into tonight, and you can meet Pete tonight and get his new book, In the Arena by Pete Hegseth. That will be going on sale at 5 o'clock tonight at the Red Carpet Martini Lounge. We have pictures with Pete and the book and a special KNSI discount. We are subsidizing it to make it worth your while. So bring cash or check only, please. And for Pete's book, only tonight, the book, autographed, and a picture for $20. That is courtesy of KNSI Radio. We're picking up the rest of the tab for you tonight while supplies last. I think we have 50 books, so get there early. And that's coming up very, very shortly here at the Red Carpet Martini Lounge for Town Hall Tuesday. Pete Hegseth with us live on location. You can meet him, talk to him, get your picture taken, and get that book again for $20. If you don't want the book, of course, you can just hobnob with him and hang out with us at Town Hall Tuesday tonight as usual. Pete, before we talk about the book and the specifics of it and maybe some content there, first, the goings-on in Orlando, a huge tragedy for our country, and now we have President Obama seemingly unable to shut his mouth about the whole thing. What is your take on it now, a couple days after the event?
Boy, that's exactly right. First of all, I am looking forward to tonight. Thanks for having me. I look forward to seeing folks. Should be a great time. And there will be a lot of talk, obviously, about the events of the last 48 hours. My take is, I was sitting on the couch on Fox and Friends the morning it broke, and it started as just a nightclub shooting, and then as we started to learn more over the course of the morning, even just the feeling on the couch with Tucker Carlson and Anna and others, it just became, the weight of the moment started to sink in over the course of 4 hours, and I could just, this sense that here we go again, this is, ties to ISIS, the FBI admits it almost immediately, but then your mind immediately shifts to, man, I hope we will do the right thing by this horrific attack as we start to learn more. 50 people motivated by ISIS has traveled to Saudi Arabia. All these different things that point to the fact that this is a guy who, while he appears he was very conflicted on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
Clearly, he was at that last moment declaring his allegiance to ISIS, executing people in a nightclub, Americans. And doing it as part of a global jihad or a global terrorist army that seeks to impose its will. And so but yet we have a commander-in-chief when he speaks about it, almost speaks, you heard it today, clinically about the war against ISIS, what he calls ISIL, which has its own code attached to it, but the war against ISIS and what he's doing, but only gets passionate at the end, as you saw, when he's impugning what he deems to be his political opponents who are hung up on a talking point by calling it radical Islam without understanding at all the irony of how you defeat. See, he loves to just talk about ISIL because to him it's just, okay, if we get rid of a few of these guys in this area, then we're good. And he discounts the entire ideology that motivates it, that is permeating not just there in the Middle East, but into Western Europe and clearly into the internet portals and mosques in the United States, where it is now coming to our shores. So anybody who watched today's speech can't be reassured that we have a holistic approach at all. Thank God we've got an FBI that's on it, but beyond that, their hands are already tied.
Well, Pete, you were on the front lines of the battlefield there against radical Islam and other forces. Can you tell us, is there validity to the fact that the more we call it radical Islam and the more we demonize it here in America, the more that fuels the fire for more radicals to come up, if you will, in the Middle East, sympathizers with the radicals?
It's his classic straw man. Now here, where he is correct is that what we don't want to do is say we are at war straight up with Islam and we're at war with a billion people,
sure,
which would create, which has all the consequences that you would understand. But what you can do is say we're not at war with Islam, but we are at war with the radical strand within it, which is larger than anyone cares to admit, and those who sympathize with it. And we're going to reorient our national security strategy to recognize that some people we thought were allies they're really not all that aligned with us. Folks like Saudi Arabia, who we had an economic relationship with for decades, they still fund mosques to the tunes of billions across Europe and the United States that teach a radical Salafist form of Islam, Wahhabism, that is motivating a lot of these men to take on these actions. And we've got to look at the refugee crisis and things like that. We can be more delicate about how we talk about it, potentially, but there's a difference between delicacy and willful blindness. And this president is willfully blind by saying it is a religion of peace. Listen, it is not a religion of peace. It is also not a religion of violence. It is a religion of submission to a text which can be read by both moderates or so-called moderates and extremists to read whatever they want into it, because it's the violent portions of what they're talking about. They're right there in the Quran and the Hadith, and they reinforce a perspective. We've got to fortify those Muslims who will push back against the radicals, and then we've got to utterly crush ISIS, and that's not what Obama's doing. We've got to bomb all the locations that we know. We've got to be willing to fight a non-politically correct war, untie the hands of our war fighters, and destroy them the way we destroyed Nazi Germany. I mean, this is all-out war. This is total war, not tap dancing, which is what we're doing right now.
Hey, Pete, give me your history in the military. What exactly did you do and when?
So I was an infantryman. I went initially into the National Guard. I did ROTC in college. I spent a year guarding Islamists at Guantanamo Bay as part of the external security force. So we were on the towers and gates and the quick reaction force back when there were 650 of them there. And then I came home and I volunteered to be a platoon leader with the 101st Airborne and was there in Iraq in 05-06 as an infantry platoon leader for 6 months, and then for the latter portion of my tour as a civil military operations officer, which means my job was to work with the local tribes, city councilmen, imams, and others to bring about governance in the town of Samarra, where it was right when the mosque was bombed there. And then my third tour, I remained in the National Guard between tours, and the third tour I was mobilized to go to Afghanistan. I was a senior counterinsurgency instructor in Afghanistan in 2011-2012. Basically, we were training units and Afghans and allies about the nature of the insurgency, the Taliban, the Haqqani network, Al-Qaeda, and then what our responses should look like by region. So I really threw my hands into understanding the complexities of that battlefield, because all battlefields are different. Even though the nature of our enemies appear similar, there's a lot of local motivations and a lot of different strands that you have to understand.
Well, first of all, Pete, thank you for your service. Can't thank you enough for that. And second of all, do you feel after your experience there that we're doing any good? Do we have a mission? Are we accomplishing anything?
Well, I appreciate that. There are so many who have done, even much more than me, and so I'm humble about the opportunity to be on Fox, giving voice to veterans and the warfighters who are still out there. I'm getting texts from these guys all the time saying, "Hey, make sure you focus on this and mention that," and I take that responsibility very seriously. I think we have to look at places like Iraq and Afghanistan differently. This administration cynically called Iraq the bad war and Afghanistan the good war, except they were never actually committed to Afghanistan. So when they surged, they didn't send the amount of troops the generals needed. They told the enemy when they were going to leave at the same time. And as Panetta and Gates and others have said in their memoirs, the Obama administration really never believed in that mission there. It was a political smokescreen, which is a sin in and of itself. The problem is Afghanistan's a place where we have much less of an opportunity to affect change. This is biblical times with AK-47s and cell phones. I mean, it's utter tribalism. So to think that a long-term presence there is really going to change the dynamics, especially with a reduced footprint, I think it's foolish. So I'm unfortunately very bearish on Afghanistan, having been there. Iraq, on the other hand, was the place where we did surge and we did win, and we had an opportunity to create a different sort of environment, not a Jeffersonian democracy, but a stable government in the Middle East, and we abandoned it. And that was the bad war for Barack Obama, and part of the reason why he waited so long to do anything against the so-called JV team. So they're different environments, but they feed at this point. And then Libya, of course, was their model of 21st century intervention, as they said, which was all the intervention with none of the follow-through, which is why it's effectively the annex for ISIS today. Benghazi and other things demonstrate the futility of what they attempted to do and remake. So there's a lot of bad out there. Add Syria and the Red Line in, and then throw China and the South China Sea and the redrawing of the boundaries of Eastern Europe by Putin, and you've got an environment where the world is falling apart and is in chaos, and America is nowhere to be found. And you see it again today from the podium from Barack Obama. There's no real leadership that the world's going to gravitate toward. No. So we end up shouldering the burden, and it's not the way he's doing it. It's not enough.
Desperate for leadership on the world stage, are we not? And, we need somebody. Well, we'll talk presidential politics maybe at Town Hall Tuesday tonight at the Red Carpet Martini Lounge. How does that sound? Pete Hegseth is our guest today. He's on with us right now, but he's coming to town here in just a few moments. He'll be signing books and getting his picture taken with you, if you like, at the Red Carpet Martini Lounge, downtown St. Cloud, for our weekly Town Hall Tuesday get-together. This one could be the biggest one ever, so get there early. I think we have 50 books, but there are more in stock at Barnes & Noble if you miss out on the first 50. But get there early. We're starting at 5 o'clock with the book signings and the pictures being taken with Pete Hegseth. So with that, Pete, for folks that have heard about your book or not heard about your book, thinking about buying it, whatever, what can you tell us about it?
Sure. I actually think, unfortunately, and by happenstance, it's a very timely message. It's called In the Arena, and there's a famous quote, Teddy Roosevelt gave it in 1910, called "It's a man in the arena" quote, and I printed it out and I carried it with me in Iraq and Afghanistan and Guantanamo Bay. It always motivated me. A lot of your listeners would be familiar with it. Mm-hmm. It starts with, "It's not the critic who count. It's not the man who points out how the doer of deeds could have done them better or the strong man stumbles. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood." And it goes on and on and on. It's very motivating, and I always kind of pointed to it saying, hey, am I in the arena? Then I read the entire speech Roosevelt gave in 1910. It's called Citizenship in a Republic. And the speech is almost un-PC before there was PC. I actually reprint the entire speech in the back of the book. And for your listeners, conservatives, there's obviously a lot of hesitation about Roosevelt. This is a speech given before his descent into progressivism as the founder of the Bull Moose Party and the candidacy of Woodrow Wilson. This is sort of clear-eyed Roosevelt, fresh off of an African safari, talking to a French audience about, hey, you elites, this is the basic stuff that it takes to perpetuate citizenship, because his thesis is the thesis that remains true today in America, that for a great republic to stay great, your average citizens must be good citizens. We can't rely on great rulers. We know we are fallen men and women, so we are never great citizens ourselves. But the basic goodness of work, of willingness to fight, of family, of character, of faith, of American exceptionalism, of equal opportunity, those are the values and threads that push throughout the speech. He also talks about demographics. And, demographics are really powerful. Even if you look at Western Europe, they gutted their welfare states to pay for their military, they gutted their militaries to pay for their welfare states, opened up their borders, didn't demand allegiance. And now you see what we get in France and Belgium. You've got the most popular boy's name for a baby born in London today is Muhammad. And that happens for a reason. In Minnesota, we're familiar with some of these trends as well, whether it's Minneapolis or St. Cloud. It's very important that along with any sort of immigration or refugee policies that come along, that you demand assimilation and allegiance, because without it, you start to have citizens who aren't tied to the American experiment. And that has nothing to do with race or religion or gender or creed or any of that. America is a special place founded on ideas. People that come here, we need them invested in those ideas. Otherwise, we give it away. So it ends up being a very, very timely speech. Book's not about Roosevelt's life. It's not about my life. It's about arguing what we can do in America to get involved for the fight based on a great speech that I try to bring back to life.
Pretty impressive reviews, sir, from the likes of the great one, Mark Levin, Karl Rove, John McCain, even Tucker Carlson, Ralph Peters, retired Colonel Peters, right? I think he's a Fox News contributor.
He's a Fox News contributor, yep.
All
yeah,
right.
I mean, it's humbling. You throw it out there, you throw a book out there to these guys, and to get reviews. Yuval Levin, who's one of the best conservative thinkers today, Bill Kristol, folks across the spectrum have, Colonel Oliver North. They've all had nice things to say, and it's humbling because you throw it out there, you hope you can make a case, and ultimately, I want to motivate people. I want to inspire them and remind them. And nothing I write is original. It's just reflecting the wisdom of our founders or Lincoln or Roosevelt or others whose shoulders we stand upon today.
Amen, brother. Pete Hegseth is with us. He is going to be at Town Hall Tuesday here in just a few moments. Pictures start at 5, and pictures are done at 6. From 5 to 6 are the pictures, so get there early. And while supplies last, again, we will have the book In the Arena, hardcover. KNSI will be subsidizing it as part of our promotion for having Pete here. So for $20 cash or check, you will get the book. He'll autograph it for you, Pete will, however you want. Keep it clean, of course, right, Pete? I mean, you're not going to do anything. And to get your picture taken with Pete. And have a good time, too, at our weekly Town Hall Tuesday at the Red Carpet. Of course, free food, a huge food buffet with a 2-drink minimum. as always, each week at Town Hall Tuesday. So with that, Pete, we will see you shortly here at Town Hall Tuesday. And if you want to find out from Pete, of course, what Megyn Kelly is really like, and what you've been on Outnumbered a few times too on Fox.
Yeah, I've been on Outnumbered a bunch. Fox and Friends, all those shows. They're all wonderful people.
What it's like to be on set and be in New York and be part of that amazing crew. Truly an amazing life so far, Pete. And we'll look forward to getting to know you better in person shortly at the Red Carpet Martini Lounge. Safe travels on the rest of your journey, and we'll see you shortly, Pete.
I'm looking forward to it. See you there, Ox.
Pete Hegseth. Meet him right now at the Red Carpet Martini Lounge. Might want to get there early for Town Hall Tuesday. Back to wrap up Ox in the Afternoon next on AM 1450, FM 103.3, KNSI.